Hi and welcome to this first episode of a series of videos where I'm speaking to Michael Janke and Ryan Bouman, two Canadian filmmakers, about their latest project, We the Bereaved, a film about grief. One of the first things that struck me in the film was the visual language, the very cinematic type of grading and the look. And I was quite convinced that it was going to be a very high-end camera like a Red or an Alexa. And when they told me that it's actually shot on the Canon C200, well, first off, that surprised me. And secondly, they had a few good reasons on why they actually chose that camera instead of going for the more high-end cinema cameras. Something I would personally always try and do because I think like, oh, I need the quality. And I think their philosophy on why they chose the C200 is a very interesting one and something that might actually inspire you to think differently about the camera choice on a specific project. Now, if you haven't seen the film, I would highly recommend you first see it. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below, and we'll be back soon with a different clip on the making of that film because we have a ton more to discuss with them. On which camera did you shoot this on?
C200, the Canon C200. Yeah, and that was, we benefited. I know it's not a promo for Canon, but we've become like crazy about this camera. And even when we went on the two-man crew, we were using it, and then we could use the autofocus. So he still had the Steadicam, and we just put L series lenses on there, and then we could just track the face thing, and we just rolled with that instead.
Bit of a cheat.
But man,
works great. It works
for
really
two
good.
people.
I didn't notice, so you know. I thought it worked really well then. And is there another particular reason why the C200?
Well, we both own one. So when we were
That's
starting,
one big reason.
when we were starting prep, we're like, well, it's easily accessible. We can we don't have to. I mean, a big part of it was also budget. We're like, well, hey, we both own these camera. We don't have to spend budget to rent this camera. We can basically just discount it heavily for ourselves. And then we knew it at that time. And it was also the thought of we wanted to try to push it. Mm-hmm. We, even in terms of what we knew about it and shooting raw, I had not done a lot of raw shooting with mine yet. And it was also this ability to sort of say, let's see how far we can push this camera based on what we're seeing about it and hearing about it and our own experiences. Let's see how far we can take it.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it was definitely the smaller budget, but also the fact that we were producing our own, that we were producing the whole thing. A lot of times, I mean, really, when we talk a lot about cameras and the amount that you can do with a C200, most people aren't going to know. I mean, I can't tell between that really and a lot of stuff that's shot on the Alexa. If it's lit bad, it's going to look bad, and so we try to focus a lot more on lighting, and so we could get away with having two bodies. Mm-hmm. That was part of it too. On shoots, we always had two bodies. One was on the Steadicam, one was on sticks or ready to go handheld, and
even the again, we like the C200, but the size, the battery life, but also still shooting raw. I feel like it's a very underrated camera because it's so small and light and so fast, and the battery life on it is crazy. It's magic. It makes no sense. The battery life is unbelievable compared to any other camera I've used. So it allowed us to just sort of forget about some of those things that normally you're thinking about on a shoot. And we just knew that we could trust it. Yeah. And we just knew that it was going to allow us to be fast when we needed to be, and that we could take the time to figure stuff out and not have to think too much about what's going on with camera.
And definitely eliminated some of the need for extra crew just with the size and the autofocus, which is very, very perfect, and then batteries and things like that. We could go smaller with just the two of us, where if we had a rigged out Red or Alexa, we couldn't have gotten a two-man. It'd be very difficult to go out and shoot just two-man crew somewhere.
Yeah.